Blog Talk Radio.
Are you ready? The champ is here! It's just a man! Give me a hell yeah! What the rock is cooking? To be the man, you have to be the man! Big bubble pump! And you're hooked up! Cup of coffee in the big game.
Yes, folks, it's all about the boom. And if it's Sunday night, you know what that means. Working the Marks coming to you live here from the Famcast Media Studios. Certainly, I am New Jersey's premier award-winning journalist and the weapon of mass disruption in Garden State media. Yes, it's me, the professor, Fernando Uribe, and he is New Jersey's premier wrestling analyst, the glorious, the notorious, the bougie PBR superstar, Patrick Rivera. What's going on, PBR?
I just got to make sure we get the height of the Gumby that I got going on here right now. You know, this hair has a life of its own. I got the leopard skin blue blockers on. You know what I'm saying? Because my future's so bright, I got to wear shades. And just happy to be back here on Working the Marks with you. Great old time. Got a little bit of the switched it up this time. Got some twig wine, no pun intended there. And just really, I got the Eddie Guerrero gimmick on it. I'm really excited. Really excited.
Well, I like my Hans Gruber look. You know, I always rock that pretty well, I think.
Where's your Uzi at, man? You don't got no Uzis? Like, nothing? Like, I figured you'd have an Uzi.
For a jacket. I didn't wear a suit today like Hans Gruber, you know, so.
Nice. Well, hopefully you don't end up in an elevator, you know, with John McClane or anything, you know, and ho, got a machine gun.
Let's hope not. Folks, again, always shoot us an email here at Working the Marks. Of course, on our inbox, workingthemarks@gmail.com. You see all the great social media links below. Folks, again, check us out. Make sure you like us on Facebook. And certainly, without a doubt, ladies and gentlemen, always sharing is caring. That's how the show gets even better every single week because of you, our loyal viewing audience. Shout out to D. Rotten, no government name here on the show, for always being an outstanding executive producer here on the program. So can't say enough about him. Pat, you know, it's daylight savings time, so we lose an hour, but it's nice to look out the window, bro, and it's still daylight, you know what I'm saying, when we're doing the show. So
I don't like it. I need more darkness in my life, you know what I'm saying? I'm a man of the dark. And I'd really like for the darkness to come back so that people stay inside and I don't have to see anyone. So, but you know, that's just me because I'm just a ray of fucking sunshine, aren't I?
Coming from the guy who loves his coffee just like his soul, folks. You know, that's as we always know he loves to say that. But Pat, man, good week of pro wrestling here to sort of break down. But I don't want to. We'll sort of start with the news here, and I don't want to sort of spend too much time on it. But pretty much last Sunday, right before we recorded, obviously, you know, we had a lot to say about what happened with AEW Revolution. Not a particularly long pay-per-view, went until about midnight Eastern time. All things considering, with, you know, obviously 8 matches plus the Iron Man match. I don't want to break down the whole card, but what was sort of like the best, the worst, and really the ugly of Revolution for you?
Wow, it's a lot to dissect there. I would say the best was probably the Iron Man match. I think it was a great match. I wasn't a fan of the finish. I went back and I watched it again, as I tend to do normally with stuff that I like or just stuff that we review here for the show. And the finish, when MJF had hit Danielson with the oxygen tank, Bryce Remsburg saw the mouthpiece and the tubes and all the other stuff fly into the ring. Like, it literally went over the bottom rope when Danielson got waffled with it. And aside from that, I thought the match was excellent. I liked the little water breaks. I liked the stuff like that. I thought that was cool. But just the fact that, like, the referees saw him cheating, I think kind of took it away from me. You know, I would say the bad is, I mean, where there's so many to choose from, I can't really say. I'm gonna say the bad was probably the three-way women's match. I wasn't really into it, to be quite honest. And if I'm not mistaken, wasn't it Ruby that turned at the end of that match and went with what are they calling themselves? The Outcasts. So
I think the new outsiders, right, or the influencers. I don't know.
No, the influencers would be cool. I've been trying to say somebody needs to take that name already, but I think it's the Outcasts. And I get that she fits in with what they're doing. Former WWE worker, punk rock kind of chick. But I don't know. I just thought it was a little flat. And the Ugly, obviously, we all know what the Ugly was. The Ugly was John Moxley and Hangman Page bleeding all over the place. And I don't know. It wasn't like, look, I understand there's a lot of people out there that like it. Oh, they watch the territories. There's deathmatch people that like all that stuff. To some extent, it did live up to that deathmatch kind of hype, not GCW. But I don't know, man. I just feel like it was kind of a waste for two guys that are talented and that could be doing a little bit more than just bleeding all over the friggin' place. So, yeah, that's pretty much everything for me.
I'm with you, man. I would say the best for me was watching that Iron Man match. I think it was entertaining. Sort of the ludicrous notion that marks like Brian Last and Brian Alvarez and Dave Meltzer calling this perhaps the greatest Iron Man match in pro wrestling history is myopic. I mean, I'm being kind here. I mean, these guys are – I don't know what they're smoking or what they're ingesting, but –
Me neither.
I mean, it's crazy to me. And I get it that whether it's Brian Last and his fandom for MJ, and that's fine. You can root for whoever you want. I mean, clearly you can see who I root for, but you have to be a little objective here about that match itself. I think it was at times not sloppy. I just thought there were just a lot of unnecessary falls per se. But again, good match. I agree with you about the ending. Not a fan of it. I went back and watched sort of the last part of it. And, you are correct. The referee was sort of like right in plain view. There's no way he could have seen MJF take the tank and just raise it above his head enough where it hit Danielson square on, and the referee wouldn't have seen that. Like, it just seems ludicrous about that finish. In terms of the bad, I'll actually change it up with you a little bit. I thought that the Young Bucks and Omega defending the six-man championship against House of Black, I get it that fans were marking out because it's indie wrestling, but I didn't think that match was particularly good. It was just spot fest after spot fest after spot fest. And I get that, the Elite losing sort of fuels the speculation that, they might be leaving, or when their contracts are up later this year, that they might want to jump ship to WWE. I don't know about that, because obviously we saw that, and we'll talk about it in a moment. I guess they're going to get a rematch to some extent, obviously this Wednesday in what's called, supposedly, according to Don Callis, the wrestling capital of the world, Winnipeg, Manitoba, Canada. Jesus Christ. But I thought that was a bad part of Revolution. There's a lot of it that was bad, but I think that was bad specifically because it was just like it was a spot fest on steroids. And the Ugly for me, I thought, was just, I'm happy he got the win because I like Ricky Starks. It was just a bad match, and it's a bad match to kick off a pay-per-view with. I agree with you. Like, Hangman and Moxley and that shit show was bad too. And I'm sure Cornette almost came close to having a stroke when he reviewed it this week. I would just say the Ugly was just the need of having Ricky Starks and Jericho on a pay-per-view. I get it. Good win for Starks. Clearly, they're trying to elevate this guy. We'll see what his ceiling is. I thought that was my Ugly. So, listen, if you paid for it, God bless you. If you didn't, God bless you. Obviously, the Chase Center was not full. I think you could see a lot of people on wrestling Twitter taking pictures that were in the building. The terminology better than I do. Obviously, the entire upper tier was unused. I think some of the skyboxes maybe were, I don't know, that area. Mm-hmm. I think the area behind the hard camera didn't look as full, but that's not a surprise. Again, and we saw the numbers this week. I think it was somewhere between 8,000 to 9,000. I think 8,000 paid, maybe almost 9,000 in attendance. That's not a good look for a company that, again, and Chase Center is a new arena, not just in the NBA. I believe the Sharks play there, the NHL San Jose Sharks, concerts, everything else, whatever, college basketball. You would think a big arena like that, one of the bigger ones in the country, would have at least, I would argue, for that, especially in California, where there's such a niche audience, I would think maybe 11, at most 12. I thought that would be at least respectable. This is embarrassing.
Yeah, I think it's kind of following suit with a lot of what's been going on with AEW. They've been trending downward, and obviously we're gonna delve into that a little bit deeper. But that type of attendance isn't really awe-inspiring. It really doesn't promote a lot of confidence. I think that they've lost a lot of the heat, a lot of the new car smell, the honeymoon period, I guess you could say. Early on, a lot of people were tuning in because it was something new. They didn't know what they were going to get. Now you kind of have a general idea of what you're going to get every time you tune into AEW. I thought the trios match wasn't bad. It was very much in line with what they do. And to your point, yeah, it was a spot fest. But I mean, look at the parties involved there. I thought it was interesting to put it on House of Black. And the Jericho Starks match, I get what they're trying to do. They're trying to put over Ricky. He had already put over Ricky. I guess they wanted to do it on pay-per-view to make it a big thing. Ricky Starks, to me, has a lot of potential. Whether he should be a champion now just yet, we don't know. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I personally don't think so. But the guy could talk a mean line of shit. And, when he had that face-to-face with MJF and he cut that promo, I mean, it was great. Like, we finally kind of saw a baby face in that regard that could really go toe-to-toe with him in that department. But, yeah, I mean, it's definitely – I would say it's concerning, to be quite honest, because they're not trending upward in really any kind of way. And at least if they were heading in the right direction, you kind of like equate it to a team that's doing a rebuild, right? Like, they're getting in all these players. You got veterans. You got some people that are kind of on their way out, people that are on their way up. And, you got to be patient with the rebuild, and you'll get little signs here and there that, hey, you know what? We took it to the former champions, or we took it to this team that's, always in the mix. This is a good sign that we're kind of trending in the right direction. You're not really seeing that with AEW. On the contrary, you're seeing them kind of delve further and further into the shit. And I think personally it's something concerning for Tony Khan and their fans in general. But I mean, they're going to be in denial about that. They're not going to be able to see that, so it's really a no-win situation in that sense.
I agree. And we'll get more into AEW in a little bit, but let's continue on with the news cycle here. Interesting, obviously, a lot of chatter online. I think we talked about it for the last couple of shows already. This past Friday night on SmackDown, the first inductee into this year's class of 2023 for the WWE Hall of Fame. A little surprised. I was expecting the Great Muta to be announced, but it was indeed Rey Mysterio. And to no one's surprise, Rey Mysterio's announcement was interrupted by his son Dominic and the Judgment Day. I got to tell you, man, it's the buildup of Rey eventually coming to blows with Dominic reminds me a little bit about 1998 when Kane had gone after Taker, going back to 97, week after week, laid him out at the Rumble, set him on fire. And it was just like, if you remember that one pop when Taker finally put his hands on him, everybody lost their minds. And I think that really helped set up the WrestleMania match. It almost seems like they're kind of following that same blueprint with Rey. Dominic is being like the insufferable, annoying little Gen Zer and, disrespecting his dad. His dad's sort of, which again, this is the most unrealistic thing because Hispanic parents, let me tell you something, Hispanic parents would not hesitate to factory reset you with one slap, okay? So I get it. We live in a different era. We can't beat our kids into like being more disciplined and be more, upstanding citizens. But I was just like, wait a minute, like really? A Hispanic dad's going to take this from his son? But I get it. It's a great storyline. Obviously, I was expecting maybe Rey to do something to cost the Judgment Day of the match. That didn't happen. But like a lot of people online, hey, it's 22 days to go. Come on, let's get going here. Let's set up this match already. Let's get to the conclusion. It just seems if Rey's going to get inducted, he's going to lose. It might be his last match. It might be one of those stipulations. Hey, Dad, not only if I win, you lose, but whatever. I could see that. That's the route they're going, I think.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I've kind of been saying that from Jump Street. I'm a huge fan of Dom. I think that he's really blossomed into that role as a heel. And he's a legitimate heel. I mean, people do not like him, like you mentioned before, annoying Gen Z, thinks he's the shit. But I mean, he gets real, genuine nuclear reactions with this audience. And I just think it's incredibly amazing. And I know you and I have talked a lot about this off the air, but I really, really feel like Dom needs to be the guy to retire Rey.
No,
And I think that
quick question. Is sure it's not a loser goes to AEW match?
ooh, I think they'd probably call for a draw on that one. Time limit draw might go to. I don't know. I just think that Dom versus Ray is the money match. You do career, career versus hair, let's say. And you got to have Dom go over. You got to have Dom retire his father, dude. It's a Hall of Fame weekend. Think about it from Ray's perspective, okay? Here, you've worked your entire life to do this. Your family got you into the business. Now you're being inducted into the Hall of Fame, which is an honor for some of these guys. Some of them just looking at it, it's a fucking gimmick Hall of Fame. But I'm sure Ray's going to be very honored by that. It's in California. And what better send off for Ray than to wrestle his son and to let his son go over on him and elevate his career. Ray to me is still one of those guys, and I don't know if it's maybe because we're Latinos, but I also think because when my cousin and I were breaking into the business and we were studying videos and doing all this stuff, we used to study all the WCW cruiserweights. And, Eddie Guerrero, Chris Jericho, Dean Malenko, Rey Mysterio. Those were some of the guys that jumped out, Hoovy, Kidman. I mean, you remember how stacked that division was. Benoit. And yeah, Benoit wasn't a cruiserweight. They made him more of a heavyweight guy, but I get what you're saying. But it just, those guys are like symbolic of a time, and Jericho has kind of veered away from that. It's kind of more like Office now. He's different. He was also a heavyweight champion before, we're considered in that category before Ray. But Ray, for me, when I see him now, I still kind of get an emotional reaction. Like, it still kind of like pops me because he's been around forever. He used to be so exciting in WCW. I mean, he was the highlights of the show a lot of the time because every time he came out, you knew he was going to do something really, really cool. And I just think that for Ray as a father, you want to put your son over. You want to give your son that rub. He's Rey Mysterio, dude. He's a fucking legend. He's a fucking legend. He's okay. Him losing to his son in a career match does nothing to his legacy whatsoever. On the contrary, I think it enhances it. And it speaks to what a generous performer he was, and always will be.
No, absolutely. Again, 20 plus years of Rey Mysterio in WWE, notwithstanding obviously all the other years in WCW and other promotions in Mexico. Interesting, though, I'm seeing some chatter online about who should be inducting him. There was some rumor, I don't know if it's true or not, or some chatter online that maybe Conan, that would be interesting to induct him into the Hall of Fame. I don't know if that was the case.
That's true.
Now again, for kayfabe purposes, you would think that you would want maybe his son to induct him. But again, based on the storyline, that doesn't seem realistic. And I would hope, though, Pat, and I know it's a gimmick Hall of Fame. I get all that. I wouldn't want the ceremony ruined by Dom, per se. I mean, I kind of want everyone to get
I do.
Oh, you just hit a nail on the coffin.
I know you do. But I would say that whether it's Conan, which is kind of interesting, right, in terms of his place right now in pro wrestling, in terms of a very successful podcast, his time in the business, his time as a promoter / booker with AAA. It'll be interesting, though. I think whoever inducts Ray will certainly be a marquee name, I'm sure. Obviously, I think it's being rumored that tomorrow night on Raw, another inductee will be announced. Thank goodness. I kind of want to get this class of 2023 out there.
Why thank goodness? What is that? What is it? Thank goodness what? They have to expedite it in a certain time frame? I don't understand. What is this complaint that I hear about from these marks? It's you got to let us know. Why? The fucking tickets are bought. People are going. The check's in the mail. That's it. It's over. No. It's done.
No. I agree. I'm just for my own curiosity. I just like to see what the class looks like sooner than later.
They dragged it out. Look. Long-term storytelling. There you go. They dragged it out. You know what I'm saying?
No, it's fair.
I don't know. Maybe it's just me, but I really don't get why people complain about that. I was kind of hoping they'd announce it at the Go Home SmackDown.
Like the whole line.
Yeah, the whole lineup right there. Good enough. There you go.
In other news this week, WWE announced that I guess maybe somebody lost a wager. I don't know. Maybe someone's doing this out of spite. I don't know. But it seems like WWE is making a trip to Puerto Rico for Backlash coming up. And they're going to be having a very famous Grammy Award-winning host coming up on Saturday, May 6th. 18 years, pretty much, after their last appearance which was on New Year's Revolution in 2005. WWE announced this week that they'll return to the El Coliseo de Puerto Rico de José Miguel Agreló in San Juan, and Bad Bunny, a WWE performer, obviously, and two-time Grammy winner, and apparently the newest member of the Kardashian clan, as we saw this week, will be hosting the event coming up in May. Bud Bunny, in a press release this week, said, quote, "In 2005, when I was a kid, I wasn't able to attend New Year's Revolution at El Coliseo. Finally, 18 years later."
Wait. Hold on, Fern. If you're going to say it, hold on. Okay, now say it. You know, you got to have the beat in the back.
2005, when I was a kid, yeah. He wasn't able to attend New Year's Revolution. Finally, 18 years later, WWE returns to the island with a massive event, and this time, I'm not going to miss it. Obviously, we all know Bad Bunny really impressed a lot of people in WWE, going back to 2021 when he teamed up with Damian Priest to defeat The Miz and John Morrison at WrestleMania 37. He did compete in the 2022 Men's Royal Rumble match. He's also a former 24/7 champion. Thank God that garbage title was retired. Jesus.
The coveted 24/7 championship.
And, you know, we've had some famous WWE superstars, everyone from Stone Cold Steve Austin to Nature Boy Ric Flair to Booker T, all make cameos in his music videos. So, again, nice to see, Backlash returning on a pay-per-view. Just Backlash, thank the Lord, Backlash. Again, I don't know, maybe someone lost a bet. Why go to Puerto Rico? Beyond me, but okay.
Because they can't go to Havana, that's why.
Hey, Camila Cabello's going to Havana, okay? Don't forget that, okay?
Don't go in the back of the locker room.
But again, big, obviously, props to WWE as they continue with their global marketing, going to the Caribbean, a great marketplace. We all know the history that is in Puerto Rico wrestling, going back to WWC, with World Wrestling Council, with Carlos Colon, who helped cover up Bruiser Brody's murder. Great organization. Great.
Hey, snitches get stitches, all right, man. Snitches get stitches.
Obviously, we know how global it is. This past last month, WWE held Elimination Chamber in Montreal, Quebec, Canada. They'll be going to London for Money in the Bank. Coincidentally, later on in May, they'll be hosting the King and the Queen of the Ring. Interesting, in Jeddah, Saudi Arabia, where women are just finally starting to learn how, like, getting the right to drive. But somehow we're going to have a Queen of the Ring there. I mean, explain that one to me. But, okay. Global.
Call progress, pal.
What's that?
Call progress, pal.
Something AEW doesn't know.
5,000 years to let women drive. I wonder what the next 5,000 years will bring me. But
I mean, cars haven't even been around for 5,000 years. But all right, maybe Flintstones cars. But I don't know. There's no proof of that yet.
But WWE continues their global footprint, and obviously, I think a lot of people are going to look forward to that show, especially with Bad Bunny. It's going to get so many social media interactions and clicks and views. Not a surprise there. You want to get a star like Bad Bunny on board.
Of course, bro. Hold on a second. Allow me to play a little something here, And let me send a shout out to the birth nation of my family, La Isla del Encanto, Puerto Rico. Okay? Big shout out right there. I gotta tell you, bro, I am elated that this is happening. I think it's going to be awesome. I think it's great for the business. Triple H bringing it back to PR and stuff like that. I don't know. Maybe Vince didn't want to go there. He might have Vicente McMahon Jr. running around the fucking island for all we know. Who knows? But I'm just excited. I think this is great. And Bad Bunny, man, like, the guy does so much for the island. He gives back to the people. He helps out so much over there, man. Does more than fucking J-Lo. And, a lot of other people that are, so proud to be Puerto Rican. But, just immense respect for what he does for the island and for the people, man. And, man, this is a dude who rubbed everybody the right way, had respect for the business, went in there with the right attitude. You don't get Taker to come and work with you. You don't get all these people to come and work with you. You don't get the WWE to come and work with you, put you in a match, and do all this stuff with you if you don't have respect for the business. And humility goes a very, very, very long way. So I'm excited for this. Too bad it's not WrestleMania Backlash, but hopefully that comes back. And I'm just thrilled that this is happening, man. And I can't wait. And I think the crowd's going to be fucking lit. I think there's definitely going to be some, half Puerto Rican babies coming out 9 months later related to Russell.
Well, literally, if it's in Puerto Rico, it's going to be lit. They're going to be lit walking into the building. I mean, there's that liquor to be full-blown concession stand.
We know how to fucking party, bro. Hey, take a look at the WBC, and nice win for your buddies yesterday. For your guys, Colombia, huh? Nice one. And Puerto Rico with a big win. So who knows? Maybe we got a Puerto Rico-Colombia final, right? Wouldn't that be something?
Did you see those Colombian women in the stands watching the Colombian baseball team? I mean,
how about all the women in the stands, man? I mean, especially the Hispanic games, man. It's like, geez Louise. Oof. Yeah.
Some of those Venezuelans yesterday, oofa.
Big, nice win for Venezuela. Got to put Venezuela over on that one too, man.
Listen, anytime the Dominican Republic takes an L, I'm always happy about that. So,
¿Qué lo que tigre? ¿Qué lo que con la maldita vaina esa, Fernando?
But definitely some good news, obviously, for WWE, as always, branching out internationally. And speaking of international, this past Wednesday on Dynamite, AEW CEO
Uribe, I gotta put you over for this one, man. That fucking segue is top notch.
Tony Khan made an announcement that's coming up on Wednesday night in Winnipeg, Manitoba, Canada. Orange Cassidy will make the first defense of the new revamped AEW International Championship. So we're putting to bed the All-Atlantic title. Obviously, I'll be interested to see what flags they'll have on there. As we will defend against Double J Jeff Jarrett this Wednesday from Winnipeg, Manitoba. I have to say, though, man, I mean, whether or not Tony Khan, whether or not the online ribbing or all the ridicule was getting to him, but I told you, and again, maybe it's the academic in me, but I just felt insulted to call some of the All-Atlantic Championship and you have a Japanese flag on it, you have like Middle Eastern flags on it. Not because I don't have anything against the Middle East, but that doesn't seem like, geographically speaking, the right reference for a championship. Kudos to Tony Khan finally getting something right, renaming it the AEW International Championship as Orange Cassidy defends against Jeff Jarrett this Wednesday. And I'm sure will be a shit show of a Dynamite in Winnipeg, Manitoba, Canada.
Well, maybe Tony finally found a fucking map, Maybe somebody finally was just like, hey, check this shit out. And he was just like, wait a minute, what? It's been wrong all along? It's like, yeah, Tony, it's been wrong all along.
Well, in fairness, he is a graduate of the University of Illinois. We all know that in the Big Ten, academically, Illinois is kind of like the Mets of like the Big Ten academically. So
surprise, motherfucker.
That's right.
Yeah, I mean, here's my question. What's the difference between the international title and the world title? I mean, really, what's the difference?
Up the whole game with that question.
What's the difference, right? Like, think about it. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm the international champion. I'm the world champion,
Going back to the 90s in WCW, if you remember, I think when, correct me if I'm wrong, and maybe D can Google searches real quick, but
WCW, there was international title.
Yeah, it wasn't like using the old Ric Flair gold belt. Wasn't that like the WCW international title? And then the WCW title was like its own entity. I know Rick Rude held it. I don't know if he was the last champion to hold it, but that was weird because I was like, wait a second, like it's almost like, and I get it that fans, for example, got all fickle. If you remember back in the summer of 2016, when that brand split happened for like the millionth time, right? They needed a title on Raw, so they created the Universal title. And let's be honest, let's go back to all the ridicule, all the marks complain. Oh my God, the Universal. What? What's the difference between the universe and the world? And I'm like, well, I'm not an astronomer, but I think there's a fairly different dynamic there. Ooh, is that the? Oh, interesting. Okay.
That's the international title, the AEW International title.
No, that's some intercontinental.
That's WCW's.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Interesting. All right.
I mean, fans are always going to be fickle about names and references, like the Universal Champion of the World. I mean, I don't know. I'm not an astronomer, but it's interesting.
I think there's a simple fix, Fern. I think it's a simple fix. Look, why don't we see? And again, Tony Khan has to clarify. Like maybe the international title could be defended in Greenland. Maybe the world title can be defended in the smaller islands, like the Canary Islands or Guam.
How about just get Orange Cassidy out of the country and have him defend it away from this country?
Have him defend the title on Guam. That's what Orange Cassidy and Guam. I'm sure they got an indie promotion out there. But I mean, if we're gonna do Universal title, here's a quick fix: have Roman defend it in fucking Mars, or have Roman defend it on the moon or something. Now we're talking. What's up with these fancy belts? When is this from? Dude, what is that?
I can't tell what promotion that is.
I don't know. Why is that guy grabbing loaves of bread on the bottom? Oh, that's an ad. Okay.
It says it's the WCW title from, hold on one second. Let me go back here. Give me 1 second, please. From 1990 to 2005.
Interesting. Huh. There was an international title because I know Rick Rude held it, but that was the old Ric Flair belt. I could be wrong.
Yeah.
I could be wrong.
He defended it in Japan, too. No, you're not wrong, Fern. I remember that. He defended it in Japan, too.
Coincidentally,
type in Rick Rude international title, maybe. I think that would be a way to go.
And coincidentally, that's where he got hurt against Sting, and that pretty much ended his career. Sadly, tragically.
Sadly, absolutely.
But yeah, interesting. To obviously without hesitation, we know the ridiculous Tony Khan got on Twitter this week about renaming the championship. Obviously, Jeff Jarrett. Listen, God bless Jeff. He's in great shape for his age. He's obviously. It looks like he. I don't know about you, man. You may know more about this stuff because, again, you've talked to people about it. It seems like Jeff Jarrett maybe caught a cycle this week. I don't know. Or recently, you look at a little shredded lately, Jeff Jarrett.
Yeah. Who knows, man? Or I don't know. Maybe he's on speed or something. Who knows, man? I mean, I can't say. But, I mean, look, at the end of the day, he's kind of kept himself in really good shape. And that's really what matters, man. And
I'm sorry,
he
Pat,
seems like –
you are 100% right. I was on a fan site. It was the big gold.
Okay.
Yeah, it was the big gold belt. Yep. I think, Uribe had mentioned it as well because I recalled that. I recalled him in an international title match at the Tokyo Dome. I do remember him defending that belt. So, but yeah, I mean, let's see what happens with this title. I mean, I think the All Atlantic title was a fucking joke. You know what I mean? I don't know why he did that. Maybe he wanted a little throwback to the territories or something like that. I don't know. I don't know what the hell's going on in his mind. Nobody knows. Maybe Herb Abrams, if he was still around, we could have talked to him. Speaking of Herb Abrams, I would love to see Jonah Hill star in a Herb Abrams biopic. I think he'd win a fucking Oscar for that. Honestly, I really, really do.
I'm with you. In other news, though, also, Pat, tragically this week, and I think it sort of helps us segue into a bigger problem. I think that's really, unfortunately, contagious in the pro wrestling community, online at least. Arn Anderson's son passed away this week. I'm not sure if it's his younger or old, the oldest son. Certainly condolences to the Anderson family. Obviously, the announcement here. But it's something that you have been meaning to talk about for some weeks here. Also, we know Kevin Nash's son passed away some months ago. It just seems like the IWC is made up of so many emotionally immature and just toxic human beings where let a family grieve or whatever the case may be, but don't be so quick to just jump in because, I don't know, you feel attacked or something, you're feeling defensive. It's disturbing because it's not like this past week, like Arn Anderson's son's passing wasn't just the only example. We know with Kevin Nash's son, obviously. It just seems like fans get really, really fickle for no reason. Like, grieve, let people's families grieve, and don't be so quick to just get a zinger in or a quick burn. Like, it doesn't do anybody any good, and it just makes it makes the fan base look bad.
Well, I think that there's a lot of ways to kind of look at this. I mean, Mike Tyson, I think, summed it up best, with social media, that it's made people comfortable with talking a lot of shit and not getting punched in the face for it. And, Bailey, I believe, was one of the people that commented on Arn's son's passing, which, our sincere condolences here from Work in the Marks and the Work in the Marks family to the Anderson family. It's absolutely tragic what happened, and all the best to Arn and his family in the future. But Bailey had commented, my thoughts are with you, Arn, or, something to the effect of like, I'm so sorry, Arn. And somebody responded with, no, you're not. Like, shut up. Don't comment that. You're just saying that because, he works for AEW, and all this stuff. And it's like, dude, like, this is a guy that was an agent for WWE for years, worked backstage with all the talent. And not only that, but he's a very well-respected worker within the industry. So, I mean, for people to, like, think that, like, they can, like, because Bailey's, you know, a heel character, because she wrestles for WWE, that gives them free reign to say, no, you're not sorry. It's like, who the fuck are you, you know? And even with Kevin Nash, you know, Tony Khan, I think, or somebody had commented something about Orange Cassidy. I don't recall what it was exactly. I don't know. Maybe D could find it for us here, but somebody had made a comment criticizing Orange Cassidy or something about Dynamite. And Wheeler Yuta. That's what it was. It was Wheeler Yuta. So somebody had said that Wheeler Yuta in the match with Moxley, where he fucking bled all over the place. I guess it's contagious, and started bleeding all over the fucking place at the end of the match. And Moxley had him in a fucking submission. They compared it to the iconic shot of Stone Cold Steve Austin in the sharpshooter bleeding from his head at WrestleMania 13. And, you know, people are like, oh, Stone Cold Steve Austin should be watching this. And Kevin Nash said, don't worry, he's not. And Taker commented right after and said, pop. And then somebody had responded to Kevin Nash saying, you know who else is not watching it? Your son. And that right there, man, it's fuck? Like, listen, it's a low blow. And look, man, you know, you don't have to be a Kevin Nash fan. You don't have to be an Undertaker fan. You don't have to even be an AEW fan. You have to be any type of fan. At the end of the day, I think it's all about human decency, man. You know what I'm saying? And it's about having respect for a man who lost his son, or for somebody who lost a relative in general, period. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's certain lines that you just shouldn't cross, and there's a certain bit of decorum that you should have. And to your point, a lot of this does come from the internet. There are WWE fans that are like this too, okay? Yeah. A lot of hardcore WWE marks, but a vast majority of the ones that I see online are the AEW marks and the AEW stands that cannot take the criticism. You know what I mean? And I'm not just talking about the journalists out there. I'm also talking about the talent. Like, there's people out there that, you know, give a little bit too much attention, a little bit too much notoriety to this type of behavior. And I think that this is something that needs to stop. And I think that people need to have some respect and need to stop crossing lines with these talents, because guess what? These guys gave a lot of their lives, their knees, I mean, broken bodies, man, just to entertain you people. And for fans to go and disrespect them just because they want to get a zinger or a cheap pop online, it's classless, man. But, you know, I wouldn't expect anything less from a lot of the fucking people that are on the internet, especially Twitter.
Oh, absolutely. And again, it's one of those things, man, where it just makes you wonder. I mean, you hit the nail on the head about human decency. Like, I get it. You want to, I don't know, seem, I don't know, like smart ass online, or have a burn or a pop, or get some sort of pop from, I don't know, 4 followers of yours. It's really disappointing. Like, there's no need for that. And I think that I think it's also a microcosm of a bigger, and again, I don't want to get all like sort of sanctimonious about this, but about sort of a bigger societal problem where social media enables this type of like really classist behavior. Because let's be honest, like, would somebody go up to Kevin Nash at a meet and greet and say it to his face? Of course not. You know, nah. Would someone go up to Arn Anderson, you know, and say that, or to his face? Or would someone go up to Bailey? Like, it almost seems like, and I think Mike, you referenced Mike Tyson. I think Mike Tyson also had the same thing, where the internet and social media has also enabled people to get away with not getting punched in the face. Right. And, you know, by not doing that, I think listen, very much like alcohol gives you liquid courage, I think your smartphone gives you smartphone courage. And I just think it's sad. I think it's more a testament, I think, of like sort of the times we're living in here where, you know, you can't put the genie back in the bottle. Smartphones aren't going anywhere. You know, people that walk around with iPhones, you know, people that walk around with the other stuff, whatever they're called. You know, it's just enabled people to further bad behavior online, whether it be on social media or on websites, YouTube, whatever. So it's I think it's really, really sad though, Pat.
I'm with you, Fern, and just one more thing here. I mean, you know, I think that the pandemic made it a lot worse. I think people not being able to socialize as much, having to be inside, I think it kind of regressed a lot of people's social skills, you know, and particularly a lot of the younger generation, that the only way that they know how to talk, the only way they know how to communicate is like the way they do online. I mean, I can't tell you the number of bars I've been to, you know, and you're Mr. Excitement, you're Mr. Nightlife, you know what I'm saying? You go to a ton of places, so you see it, you see the difference. You know, there's people out there that communicate the way that they do online. They almost like don't have like this surface level respect that people used to have long before this was a common thing. and it's unfortunate, and I hope it really fucking changes, and I hope it stops. But maybe it might take a fan getting knocked the fuck out to realize it. And even then, I don't know if it'll help. So we'll see.
Yeah, no, absolutely. In other news as well, this baffles my mind here, and you might have to take another gulp of what you're drinking just to digest this one. But apparently, WWE is reportedly interested in signing Brian Cage once his contract expires. Why? Like,
interesting.
Who thinks this is a
Why
good
not?
idea? And I'm not. Again, let me just sort of lay out my defense here. I get what Brian Cage represents. He's a veteran. I think he's sort of like in the twilight of his career, maybe finishing up. I mean, I don't think he's a guy you need in NXT. I think you have a lot of good talent there. If you bring him in, you're bringing him in to, I don't know, maybe work with some younger talent. That's about it. But the idea that Brian Cage would be, I don't know, an attractive candidate to sign, maybe on a low dollar deal, maybe, but I don't know, man. It just seemed, listen, and I like Brian Cage going back to his Impact days, but we know that once he's signed with AEW, once he's in Ring of Honor, I don't know, man. He's not a guy, he doesn't cut a good promo. I get it. He's built like a house. He's well, not tall, but he's muscular. And, he's been I think, decent to good worker. I don't know. Listen, you want to bring in some talent, some veterans to work at the Performance Center with the NXT stars there, that's fine. But I wouldn't spend a lot of money on someone like Brian Cage. But that's just me.
Well, I think how old is Brian Cage by any chance? D, can you get that for us, D? Can you check how old he is? Brian Cage, to me, when I look at him, I see a piece of clay that they can mold into something. I see a guy who has experience. And here's the other thing, too.
39.
39? Okay. So 39. He's still in great shape. That's young for wrestling standards. You look at a guy like LA Knight, who they have close ties, and both of them worked with the late, great, Paul Bearer. So, I mean, these are guys that were able to get out there and work with a dude like that. And I'm sure they left a good impression. And I'm sure that he probably told Taker, hey, these guys are good. These guys, they can go. And Taker's word, I'm sure, goes a very long way within the business. But more importantly, he's a good piece of clay. And he's something that they can mold into what they want him to be. And I think that Shawn Michaels would probably relish the opportunity to work with something like him. I mean, look, just because he failed in AEW doesn't mean that he would be a failure in WWE. You know what I'm saying? Because the structure is there.
No, you're right. I never liked him on the microphone. I get he's got a great look to him. The machine, the mohawk. I mean, great. Again, you're right. I think Shawn Michaels would probably relish the opportunity to work with him. Maybe not so much repackage him, but just, bring out the good aspects of his skill set. Work with what be good with him. So that'll be interesting too.
Moreover, Fern, I think it's also a way of sending a message to AEW that, hey, we're not just going to take your Codys and make them main eventers. We could take your undercard guys and we can make them something too. And I think that's really the long-term goal, in my opinion. I mean, if I was WWE, that's how I'd be thinking. I'd be saying, you know what? Let's take whatever guy's got a physique, has potential. The talking, they can work on that. They could figure something out there, but let's take your guys that you're soured on, and we're going to make them something. And we're going to show all these other people whose contracts are going to be up soon, hey, come over here because the grass is greener on the other side.
Oh, no, certainly. Absolutely. Just wrapping up the news here. This week just recently announced, obviously, WrestleMania weekend always becomes a big pro wrestling weekend altogether. Indie promotions make it a point to, just like last year in Dallas / Arlington, you had Ring of Honor, you had Impact do shows. Coming up on Friday night, March 31st in Los Angeles, Ring of Honor will have their Super Card of Honor that Friday night, March 31st. Bell time will be, I guess, 7 p.m. Eastern time, 4 p.m. Pacific time. Mark Briscoe announced this week that new Ring of Honor Tag Team Champions will be crowned at the Ring of Honor Super Card of Honor that Friday night in a Reach for the Sky ladder match, along with other matches taking place that weekend. It just seems like, you know what? Listen, it's a whole weekend of wrestling, whether it's WWE, whether it's Ring of Honor, whether it's Impact. Like last year, remember the multiverse of matches. it's a good weekend. If you want your fill of wrestling, there's no shortage that weekend in Los Angeles, whether it's Friday night, obviously the WWE Hall of Fame, SmackDown, WrestleMania. We had the NXT Stand and Deliver show during the afternoon, night 1, night 2. Obviously, then you have Monday night at Staples Center for the Raw After Mania, which is always one of the ones that I think really people get really up and for. Not a surprise, though, man. The Super Card of Honor, what that card will be, I don't know, remains to be seen, though.
Yeah, I mean, to your point, it's like for all the tribalism that there is amongst the wrestling fan base, it's like this is actually a really great time to be a fan because there's a little bit of everything available and it's so easily accessible. Unlike before where you'd have to go get the tapes or you'd have to update your package to get a certain channel and all this other stuff. Like now everything's available. Everything's out there if you really want to watch it. And I think that that's great for the fans that actually like it, that actually enjoy the business, that enjoy WWE, that like AEW, that like Impact. Similarly to yourself there, Fernando. I know that, I give you a lot of shtick, but, you're a guy that really enjoys wrestling. And you'll watch anything from NWA to Impact, AEW to WWE, New Japan. It doesn't matter. You enjoy it. Shit, if fucking AAA was on, you'll watch that motherfucker.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? So... and that's cool, and that's why I think that this is awesome. As far as is it Super Card of Honor, right? That's what it's called, the show? That's what this one is? Okay.
Yeah, Friday and March 31st, yeah.
I'll be honest, man. I get the tag team ladder match. I love the name. Big tribute to Jay. May he rest in peace, man. But, for me, I think that you're kind of dropping the ball not having Mark Briscoe challenge for the title, man. You really, really are, man. Like, he's a sympathetic babyface, and maybe Tony Khan wants to go against that because maybe he thinks it's tacky, which it's fucking, like, it's worked for everybody who's ever fucking done it. And more importantly, like, it's a nice way to honor somebody's legacy. It's a nice way for, Mark to honor his brother's legacy. And I don't know, man. I feel like they're really dropping the ball. Yeah, I don't know if they've announced the match. I know that they were going to do Eddie Kingston and Claudio. Whether that headlines the pay-per-view, I don't know. I think that's fucking silly. But again, I really, really think that the big match, the big main event, the biggest and the best main event that they could have, it's got to be Mark Briscoe versus Claudio for the fucking title.
Oh, I'm with you. It'll be interesting to see how that card materializes in the next few weeks. It's really like 2 weeks away. For Ring of Honor to sort of really promote this show. Let's get to the ratings, though, Pat. This past Monday on Raw, 1,830,000, up 60,000 from the week before. Just a couple of numbers here for the past few weeks on Raw. Monday, February 27th, 1.77. February 20th on President's Day, 2.006. February 13th, 1.81. February 6th, 1.87. Again, as we get closer to WrestleMania, we'll see more interest in there. And listen, there's a lot going on Monday nights, folks. You still have conference basketball in NCAA. Obviously, we know that March Madness. Let's keeping my fingers crossed for Rutgers to make the brackets tonight.
I'm rooting for Rutgers now. I'm rooting for them too.
NBA conference games heating up. A lot to watch on television. Again, as we get closer to Mania, it's still a good rating.
Yeah.
It's 1.83. I'm sure tomorrow night for Raw. A good Raw. I know people go crazy online. Oh, well, Raw isn't what it used to be. It's still flirting in the twos. It'll be, again, folks, the idea that Raw is going to go back to Attitude Era 3, 3.5, 4, like that. Not to say Raw can't do that. They can. It's the premise of how we have changed television consumption. Streaming, replays, and everybody is watching Raw live. Again, I'm flipping back and forth watching Tucker Carlson, Sean Hannity, CNN. Like, I'm flipping back between The Bachelor. Like, I'm going through different shows. If maybe something on Raw doesn't interest me, like if Candice LeRae is fighting Piper Niven, okay, well, let me see what Tucker's talking about. Let me see what Sean Hannity's talking about. Let me see what CNN is doing. I don't know. I think a lot of people may do that and flip around. NBA games are heating up. NHL, whatever.
Yeah.
The idea that, oh my God, this is a catastrophe. Paul's booking Raw into oblivion. That's not happening.
No. I think you're onto something, man. And I was thinking the same exact thing. It's like, realistically, I mean, how many people really truly watch all of Raw? I mean, it's a fucking 3-hour program. So people kind of tune in for certain parts that they really want to see. And those are the people that are really over, So, that right there, I think is you pretty much summed it up. I mean, like, there's so many different things that are happening. There's so many things on TV. Sometimes you just don't even want to do it. Maybe you want to eat. You're answering the door. You're taking a dump. You're taking a shower. You're making whoopee. You know what I'm saying? You're making a couple eggs, having a sandwich. You know what I'm saying? Making a drink, having a glass of wine. You know what I'm saying? There's so many different things that you could be doing while you're watching the program. So I think people make a lot more out of the ratings than what it is. But really, like, as far as it goes with AEW, it's totally different with them because, like, they need to make at least 1 million. They need to have at least like 1.4 million. They need to at least have that to be able to like try and do something, you know. WWE, they're going to maintain that audience. They're going to maintain that fan base. And I think that the fan base, including the casuals, know when to turn in if you look at the trend of the numbers. So, you know, I don't know. Again, it's for me, it's fodder for like the mark journalists that like want to make a big stink about the ratings are going down and up.
Concerned about. I mean, again, as we get.
Oh no. Yeah, no. I was just saying, you're right about that. You know, it's like I just think that the mark journalists, they're the ones who make the most out of this stuff because they want to use it anytime the rating kind of dips down before it comes back up to kind of say that, oh, well, the WWE's audience is dwindling. But when you look at all the other metrics for AEW, everything across the board is dwindling for them. And like, they don't want to admit it to themselves because they're very much tribal and they love that fucking thing. So it is what it is, man. But WWE, it's a fucking steady ship, bro. It's the fucking Titanic that didn't, you know, that actually fucking made it. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's you know, they'll be all right. They'll be all right.
It is. Especially as we get closer to Mania, obviously, looking at that great segment to close the show last week, the Bloodline drama continues. No question. Again, that number will continue to get a bump leading up to WrestleMania weekend in just a couple of weeks. AEW Dynamite, another disappointing turnout. You would think after Revolution, which, by the way, again, I don't know what the gate was number-wise, and we'll talk about obviously in our main event segment in just a couple moments. But it's being reported that AEW Revolution only got 130,000 buys on pay-per-view. That's a pretty low number for one of the bigger shows, obviously, every year in that company. But this past Wednesday night, only a bump of 25,000 people tuned into Revolution. The Dynamite, really the first Dynamite after Revolution. And it's interesting because, again, Tony Khan thinks it's a good idea to start a show once again with Orange Cassidy defending a championship, and that somehow is going to keep viewers. I think it's mind-boggling. But here's some numbers, though. This past week, March 8th, 858,000. March 1st, 833,000. February 22nd, obviously the Jay Briscoe tribute show, 1.028 million. Going back to February 15th, 824,000. February 8th, 899,000. February 1st, 901,000. These are abysmal numbers. And I get it that, and I argue with AEW fans all the time on social media, in my group chat for friends from grad school. But what's mind-boggling to me is, listen, you can have your fandom. You can say, I like Impact Wrestling, which I do, okay? But what I will also do is be intellectually honest and, hey, you know, they're on a channel that's not always easy to find in Access TV. So unless you subscribe to streaming like Sling or Fobu or whatever else, maybe Access TV isn't easily accessible for you. Maybe it's a pay service in the sense of other premium channels on streaming subscriptions. But again, with 1/10 of the budget that AEW has, Impact Wrestling now still does a decent number. Back in the day, back in 2008, 9, 10, 11, maybe 12, they were still doing 2 million people. And again, Impact Wrestling, Anthem LLC, right, the company that owns Impact Wrestling, has always had like 1/20th of the WWE budget. They probably have 1/125th of what AEW budget is, and they put on still compelling wrestling storylines and good wrestling. I find it hard to believe that niche audience fans, this is indie wrestling, folks, on Wednesday nights. It's indie wrestling.
Right.
If you like it, good. God bless you. I'm not killing you for it, but let's not make it out to be like AEW is a serious threat to WWE when they can't even crack 1 million consistently.
Well, I think you hit the nail on the head, man. And at the end of the day, I think it comes down to like having television ready performers. Like by now, all these guys have kind of developed into it, but they have a lot of habits that they're not ready for television. You know, it's also, from what we hear, very lax atmosphere backstage. So like this culture of complacency is kind of there in a lot of ways, you know. And I'm not undercutting any of the work that the people are doing. They're putting in the time, they're putting in the shifts, they're bumping their asses off, they're getting hurt. Mad respect to you. You know what I'm saying? I'm just saying that what I see as a fan and what I see as somebody who's also been in the business, like this is what I think a big problem is for AEW. Like WWE, you fuck up, you're off TV, man, if you don't get your shit together. You know what I'm saying? AEW, it's almost like, you fucked up. No big deal. It's fine. It's like, nah, man. Like you got to improve, man, no matter what. You know, if you really want to stick around, you really want to be a big star in the fucking business, you really want to be a main eventer, you want to get paid the top dollars, all that stuff, you need to fucking prove your worth. You need to master your craft. You need to be really good at it, all the elements of it, working in the ring technically, you know, storytelling, psychology, everything, the fucking promo work, character work. Like you got to have all that shit. You got to be compelling as fucking, you got to be able to hang in there with the best of them and all of them, no matter what. And that's the thing. It seems like a lot of these people are not in that position and in that mindset. And I think that that's affecting the product, because even in Impact, you still have a lot of veterans there that are putting their foot down, and there's a structure in place. More importantly, I don't know if there was a structure there in AEW per se. You know, I don't know if Tony Khan was really kind of like, you know, willing to put his foot up somebody's ass, like let's say Scott D'Amore or Don Callis or fucking Bubba Ray or Tommy Dreamer are veterans in the locker room and fucking office. You know, we don't know that. And I don't know, man. To me, it also seems like when you had guys like Punk, you know, you had a dude who was very much in that vein, was a locker room leader, was a guy that, like, you know, was serious about the business and stuff like that. And Jericho's a locker room leader. I'm not saying that any of the veterans that they have there aren't, but I mean, like, nobody's like the Undertaker backstage. Nobody's like that. Nobody's like that presence. Roman's like the Undertaker. Roman's that presence. You know what I'm saying? Rollins is that presence. You know, those guys that are going to look at you, and if you're the fucking shits, they're going to go up to you and they're going to tell you, you were the shits. What the fuck are you doing here, man? Stop wasting your fucking time. Like, they're going to have that fucking come to Jesus moment, that hard talk with you. You know, that TED talk. They're going to give you that shit. I don't know if you're really getting that as much in AEW. I really, really don't. And more importantly, I don't know if the talent really gives a fuck. How about that one? You know?
Yeah, I think that's also a really disturbing trend there, where if they're not as focused on their craft and they don't really care what impact it has on the ratings, again, they'll continue getting ridiculed for it. I mean, and it's interesting where a lot of AEW fans online get really, really fickle. They get fickle and get defensive about, well, you know, it's there's stuff going on. It's the NBA, Wednesday night NBA, NHL. The excuses like overflow. Like, I don't know, like watching Kamala Harris trying to like speak a coherent sentence. It's like, it's ridiculous in the sense of how we get to this level of not even complacency, of like incoherence. And because you can't talk to AEW fans that way. You can't sort of give them numbers and give them sort of like facts or like a logical explanation about where the product stands. Again, just look no further than the turnout at the Cow Palace, arguably one of the more iconic pro wrestling venues in the country, okay? And sort of like Midtown San Francisco, okay? And look at the turnout for Dynamite and Rampage that weekend. To say nothing of the fact that the Chase Center, again, barely had even 9,000 people. Again, and we'll get to why it continues to regress, but a bad number for sure. SmackDown, obviously, no surprise there. Consistently, I believe it was around 2.47, I believe, for this past Friday. The previous week, 2.45. February 24, 2.408. February 17, 2.383. February 10, 2.468. February 3rd, 2.384. Again, solid numbers on Fox.
Yeah.
Coming to a time where it's going to run into some competition with the World Baseball Classic as it's getting into the later rounds. We're seeing conference tournament action. We're going to be seeing, again, just a lot of stuff going on during this time of year. Again, listen, March Madness begins later this week, okay? The sort of like the first round in all the regions around the country Maybe SmackDown gets a little bit of a decrease, but not much. It's still great television on Fridays, whether it's, a fatal 5-way to determine Gunther's next challenger for the Intercontinental title at WrestleMania. The Viking Raiders still somehow gain on television. Why? I don't know. But
nah, bro, come on, man. Don't shit on them. Let me tell you something. I watched SmackDown. Live.
Yeah.
No pun intended, but I watched it live with my kids, and they're good, man. They're good. Maybe the gimmick has run its course and stuff like that. They were booked really fucking strong. That match that they had was excellent. The finish was good. Like, all the stuff that they did was good. I like that they brought back Sarah Logan to kind of be like some weird mystic Viking chick type of shit. But like the way that they set up the spots, the way like she distracted Ricochet, freaked them out and stuff, the way he sold it, like all the stuff, I thought it was good. Like, I get what they're trying to do, dude. They're trying to make money off of that shit. They're trying to make money off of that shit. And it's a good investment. Although you and I have talked about it before, I feel like they're one of those fucking teams that, they suffer from like the Legion of Doom curse. They suffer from the Road Warriors curse, where it's like everybody wants them to be like the next guy. Like everybody wants them to be that next big tag team, just fucking powerhouse, fucking awesome, super fucking over tag team. And they've tried with them, but I don't know, man. I'm going to give this a little bit of faith here. Because I think that they've been having a lot of good matches lately. And Ricochet and Braun Strowman, I like that combination. I think they took two guys who were kind of like just like kind of floating, Oh yeah. They talk about her and that other wrestler. I don't know what her name is. Looking very similar, but whatever. It's that whole Viking thing. I mean, it's like, who's the first person that does it on TV that most people see it in? It's a bitter fucking pill to swallow sometimes, just some people, and I don't know. I think the Viking Raiders are good, man. I'm not going to tolerate the slander for now because they've actually been pretty decent lately.
No, Pat, you're fair. They are very talented. They're still great workers. My issue is, again, listen, I think it sort of goes back to the tribalism that people have with the way they look at Paul and the way he's booking and presenting people on television. He's getting people on. You have to break some eggs to make an omelet. Not every omelet that's being prepared, okay, is something you're going to like consuming. And I think he's doing a masterful job in getting as much talent on TV every single week to see how the crowd reacts and to see exactly if a storyline that they're trying to develop is getting over with that audience. Whether, again, I don't care for Hit Row. It's not my type of gimmick that I care for, but I understand why you want to give him TV time. Same thing with Legado del Fantasma, okay? Santos Escobar is a really good talker. He's an amazing worker. The two henchmen, obviously, they're getting TV time now. They're getting in-ring time, which they weren't. Selena Vega, again, you want to use her. She has that sort of sexy Latina look that...
Super hottie.
Yeah, she's a hottie and a half, of course. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, I get it. You want to get as many people on as you possibly can, okay? And let's see how the audience reacts. I mean, listen, Johnny Gargano's been on Raw for weeks and weeks now. Again, I don't like that his music was changed. I think that was a good part of his shtick. Obviously, the great character work he did in NXT with The Way, and certainly that's stable. Dexter Lumis, again, is back on television. I think they're trying to just get people on and see how audiences react. And again, it's different parts of the country they're going to. Not every city that they go to on Monday nights or Friday nights is a Mark-centric type of city. Sometimes they are, sometimes they're not. We'll see. But I think that, again, SmackDown continues strong. It's going to be in the 2-point-something range, mid-range. As I said, coming up this weekend, I would not be surprised with March Madness. Obviously, there's the playing games on Wednesday nights, and then you have Thursday and Friday, first round action, Saturday and Sunday, second round action, and then before you know it, boom, it's the Sweet 16 the week after. So I wouldn't be surprised to see a little bit of a dip in the rating, but it's nothing to panic about either because SmackDown remains strong on Friday. So again, let's sort of keep an eye on that for sure. Pat, main event time here on the show. I think, you have to either start a GoFundMe to get LASIK surgery to fix whatever eyesight you have. because for anyone to tell me that AEW is not sinking weekly, whether it's ratings, whether it's attendance, whether it's online social media engagement, I mean, I'm sorry. I get it that they're trying little things like, Shazam and, partnering with DC for like a promo. That's great. That's smart. I've always said that. Partner with mainstream pop culture stuff. Okay. TNT and that company is going to be covering a lot of March Madness. Get some of your talent on, March Madness games. Have them in the building, something. But it just seems like whether it's a bad turnout. Again, I'm looking at numbers here. 130,000 buys for Revolution. Again, apparently 8,000 seats sold or paid for, maybe 9,000 in attendance. That's a bad look. And again, with Double or Nothing, which is their WrestleMania coming up in May in Las Vegas, you would hope that, hey, let's start building something up here on the Dynamite after Revolution. But no, this weekend coming up, MJF is going to have his re-bar mitzvah this Wednesday night in Winnipeg, of all places. Right? There you go. All right. And it just seems like it's ball after ball after ball is being dropped by Tony Khan. Okay, great. You're renaming a championship that was the ridicule of the wrestling world this past week. But for that one accolade you can give him, I don't have enough fingers and toes to list the inadequacies that company as a business. Again, I'm not the business professor here, but the business, like the idea that, you're not getting good gate, the idea that maybe your TV deal might not be renewed at the number you got it for in 2018, 2019, I think is an indictment that Tony Khan is not a good businessman. This video game is taking longer than the New York Knicks to win a championship to be finally released. I don't know what the hell. Okay. It just seems like from a business perspective, if they're making money, okay, but I think they're losing money at a commensurate rate. And again, I'm not a business professor. I'm not an economist, even though I pretend to be one sometimes on Monday nights. I just think it's a bad look. And AEW fans are in serious denial. They get either tribal, they get triggered, they get defensive, and I'm sorry, it's becoming a problem. Again, I watch it. I watch it for the humor. I don't watch it for good wrestling. It's rare. I watch it for humor. I watch it because I like watching wrestling, but I also watch it because it's like I'm hoping that part of me is like maybe it'll improve. Maybe it'll show signs of progression. It's not. It's signs of regression.
That's the problem though, dude. I just don't think it's gonna happen, man. I mean, like, how long have they been at this thing? It seems just like the most fundamental things of like a wrestling company, from the indie level to like the biggest level to like the worldwide level. Like, it just seems like this guy does not have the structure in play to have a successful wrestling company. I think he put too much on his shoulders. I think that a lot of the stuff that he did got found out, like paying off journalists maybe to like give favorable reviews or stuff like that. We don't know. And I don't want to get to conspiracy theory here. I don't want to get all Alex Jones on nobody and go down no rabbit holes. But, it just, I don't know, dude, like what he's done and what he should have done are two different things. And what he should have done would have been a lot better for this company to be where it's at right now. I don't know if it's going to go back up. I don't know if having CM Punk come back is going to help that. I'm sure it's going to spike it a little bit. Maybe they'll get 1 million consistently or something like that. But, like, how's he going to book it? Like, what's he going to do? Is he actually going to fucking get it right this time? And that to me is like what's going against AEW the most, FTR, arguably one of the best tag teams in the world. Right. And like they
D, stop laughing, D. I hear you there.
Hey, D, I'm putting them over. All right. So let that tell you something. But FTR is one of the best tag teams in the world now. Everybody was thinking, okay, they're going to go to WWE. That sounds exciting. Them, the Usos, a number of the fucking tag teams that are there. That's really the big dream match for me personally, at this stage right now.
And also, Pat, though, real quick, I'll let you finish. But also, I think what enables this madness and the lunacy online with AEW fans, as you mentioned, all these fake journalists, and I'm just going to read you the star ratings. I'm not going to comment on the match. I mean, we already sort of broke down what we liked about Revolution, what we didn't. But here's the star ratings from Meltzer based on Revolution on Sunday. All right, I'm glad you're sitting down. I hope you gulp down whatever you're gulping. You might need to really gulp it down just to process this so you don't have a panic attack. But on the pre-show, the Lucha Brothers and Mark Briscoe versus Ari Daivari, 3.5 stars. Opening match, Ricky Starks and Chris Jericho, 4 stars. Jungle Boy versus Christian Cage and really their casket match, 4 stars. The House of Black versus the Elite for the World Trios titles, 4.75 stars. Jamie Hayter versus Saraya versus Ruby Soho, 3 stars. The Texas Death Match between Paige and Moxley, 5 stars. Wardlow versus Samoa Joe for the TNT title, 2.25 stars. The Guns versus the Acclaim versus Triple J versus Orange Cassidy and Danhausen, 3.25 stars. And in the main event, MJF versus Daniels in the Iron Man match, 5.75 stars. Madness. Like, what?
I mean, look, man, if you think that there's some integrity to this fucking thing, you're out of your mind, okay? Oh, yeah. You're out of your fucking mind. There's no integrity with Meltzer's star rating. More importantly, outside of being a journalist, has he ever wrestled? Has he ever done it before? Who is he to say what a match is in terms of star quality? You know, what is he looking at? Is he looking at like maybe somebody's somebody working underneath in the match? Like, is he looking at like how well they're doing that? Does that go into the star rating? Does somebody's like, hope spot, does that like get over or something more? Does that get like a star? Does somebody's cutoff, if they have a really, really good cutoff in a match, is that really going to help? You know what I'm saying? Who took it home the best? You know what I'm saying? Like, is he going to do it like the fucking Academy Awards? Is that how he's going to fucking do it? Like, I don't understand how a guy who hasn't done it has a star rating that like makes so much, like, I don't know, like it causes a lot of brouhaha. It's like, it's like it commands some sort of respect, like with these people. And for me, I just don't understand why, I
mean, just to put this in perspective, I think Bret Hart and Shawn Michaels Iron Man match in WrestleMania 12 in 1986 didn't even get 5 stars. But somehow MJF and Danielson got 5.75 stars. Like, this is mind-boggling to me. The idea that people like Brian Last, we all know what a marquee is, as well as Alvarez and others, saying that this past Sunday night's Iron Man match between MJF and Danielson was the best Iron match they ever saw. I mean, what are you watching? Again, it's like, do we have to start a GoFundMe to get Dr. Joseph De La Russo to maybe be like those compassionate doctors that go overseas, like Doctors Without Borders, to perform these surgeries maybe at a reduced cost to people? Like, what are you watching on television to say something as intellectually dishonest as that? It's just, I don't want to get all worked up about it because we already know about this idiocy, but it's hysterical how people take it seriously.
Professor, hold on, I'm sorry, Professor. We're close to the same age. You remember when Meltzer's reports and all that shit and PW Insider and everything back in the 80s and 90s? That meant some shit, man. Yeah. I mean, maybe,
It did. It was more credible.
What the fuck is that bougie shit?
I mean, it's credible. I mean, it was credible during that time, but I don't know.
You think he lost? You think he lost it?
The problem, I think, really, no, I just think that he's been corrupted by getting an additional income aside from, let's be honest, and again,
but the E was doing that as well at one
with
time.
Pat about this.
The E was doing that as well as one time, right? They were paying him off, letting him go backstage and get autographs and shit.
Yeah, but like he's always been a journalist and he's a wrestling historian too. So I mean, like he's been like basically like chronicling wrestling for like a really long time. And he was a guy that was like available to the boys back in the day when they would go and work in different places on the indies, like the territory days. Like he would recommend people to like go places, and he knew people and he could set guys up. You could check it out. PJ Polacco, aka Just Incredible, talked about it with Putting It Over with Pat, that fucking ill-fated show. You check that one out on YouTube, and he even mentions it that Dave Meltzer was a useful, source back then. But I mean, bro, like for me, as like somebody who like did it, like I think to myself, like, what the fuck does it matter what he thinks? He's just a fucking journalist. He's not a wrestler. He's never done it. So like he doesn't really understand it the way a fucking wrestler has done it. Like, I don't know. Maybe that's just me. You know what I'm saying? But like, who gives a fuck what he fucking thinks?
No, I'm with you. And unfortunately, listen, he's credit to him. He has found a way to monetize an anti-WWE sentiment for years now with his newsletter, whether it's in print. Again, just some math for our audience here. If we're taking, again, based on what I've read, apparently there's like 90,000 paid subscribers to the Wrestling Observer newsletter. So if you're taking it at the $12 mark, we're talking about $13 million a year is what Meltzer brings in on the subscription service. Now, again, I have $12 I can spend monthly on other things. Go buy a drink, go buy a female drink, be much more productive use of my time doing that on my weekends, whatever. But what's interesting is that, you look at someone like Meltzer, and we know that he's been proven to be fraudulent. Some news that he's broken that was not well researched. I mean, I think he or Alvarez were reporting that LA Knight is going to be tackling Stone Cold Steve Austin in a match at WrestleMania. I haven't seen anybody of credibility, not Wade Keller, not Ariel Awani, nobody even intimating that match is a possibility. Again, not to say that you can't come up with a match in 2 weeks, but again, just looking back on it, like the whole Austin Owens storyline last year was beautifully done over a month's time, whatever. Not that you can't speed this up, but again, Meltzer reports some of these irresponsible, I guess, news bits, and where he's getting it from, I don't know. I'm assuming he's getting swerved by somebody in the office, whoever his source is in WWE. But someone like Billy Body, who I trust more infinitely, someone like Wade Keller, who's still pretty respectable, I take those people seriously. To me, I just think it's a reflection that it's a fan base that's just dying and thirsty to have some alternative to WWE. That's good. Fine. You can have alternatives. But to be intellectually dishonest and say, well, AEW's competition. In what world? Tonight at the Garden, I bet you, in a house show that won't be televised to the best of my knowledge, maybe it'll be on the network later, right, on Peacock with, 57 ads, whatever. It might get televised. I don't know, whatever. Who knows? But tonight at the Garden, easily, we're probably going to see somewhere between 12, 13,000 people at the Garden tonight. I mean, it's a school night coming up tomorrow. Maybe not every parent wants to take their kid out, but I'll bet you whatever. I'll bet you a six-pack of Guinness that tonight in a house show that no one's going to see television-wise, and it's going to be good wrestling tonight, is going to get 13,000 people. And maybe I'm undercutting that number tonight.
Pat, you're on mute. Pat, you're on mute.
I think Pat's... Yeah, I know what happened here. Hold on.
You just muted yourself again, Pat. You were good. Go back to what you just did.
There you go.
It's the marks trying to hold you back, Pat.
Nah. That was my message in Braille. So I just want to say that I think as far like what was we just talking about right now? What'd you say?
Well, what I was saying was that again, there's this sort of perception that Meltzer represents this demographic of fans also, too, and he speaks for them about that AEW's competition. It's not. Case in point, tonight at the Garden, we're
right. Okay,
yeah,
okay, the Garden thing. Yeah.
Televised. It'll probably have 12, 13,000 people. Again, on a school night, maybe it'd be higher, but we're not going to watch it. It might be on Peacock, the Road to WrestleMania again.
No, it's not. It's not. Yeah. You're going to cry about Peacock again. Well, here's the thing. Okay. that's going to draw steady because WWE's trending. All of their numbers are going in the right direction. You look at their house show numbers, they're going up. The Pittsburgh one drew just as much as the TV did. Like all this stuff that's been happening for them, they're trending in the right direction, and AEW is just going down more and more. And look, there's nothing wrong with liking fucking AEW. It's okay. It's fucking cool. It's fine. It's fucking wrestling. Like whatever the fuck you want. But like, don't be so blind to like its flaws, and don't be so blind to the fact that it could improve. Because again, for as much as people want to say, well, it's a young company. What do you expecting to reach? Like what WWE like is at like with that status? Like no. Keep in mind, like, yes, you're a young company. You're still fucking learning, bro. You should still be willing to fucking learn. You should still be willing to improve constantly because you are a young company. You know what I'm saying? Like, don't close yourself off to that too much. And again, I think that just speaks to a bigger problem that we talked about here on this episode, that maybe the locker room, maybe the mentality of a lot of the talent is not really there. It's not as strong. It's not as professional per se that you might want to fucking say, like, compared to WWE. But, like, you know, these kids, which a lot of them are, need to maybe have a change of their fucking attitude and be a little bit more fucking humble and have some more perspective. Because let me tell you something, you see a lot of the quotes out there, and I don't know if they're kayfabe. I don't know what the situation is, but like I look at it and I think to myself that in a real situation, as a talent who's doing an interview, and people do shoot type interviews, you know, where they're not character, like Ariel Helwani, he does those like, you know, non-shoot kind of promos. You know, when I see some of the quotes from like talent like Sammy Guevara saying that like, oh, you know, people don't understand what I'm doing. I don't want to take as many bumps. You know, I'm only going to take bumps like on pay-per-views and stuff like that, like crazy bumps. It's like you're hindering your career by taking those big dangerous bumps. And like, if that's all you really want to do, like that's not going to really stick around, man. Like nobody's going to really remember that. A good character is going to be what people are going to fucking remember.
Yep.
Wrestling isn't enough, but yeah, I just think that it speaks to a bigger problem in the mentality of the locker room, man. Honestly, you know, damn, yo, I got this fucking sweet ass pompadour going on right now, bro.
You look like Vanilla Ice.
It's like you know what I was thinking? I was thinking Vanilla Ice or like Morrissey or like some shit like that.
Yeah,
you know
Morrissey,
what I'm saying?
definitely, bro.
Yeah.
You know, it's like,
but absolutely, Pat, man. I think you nailed it on the head. I think it's an ongoing problem. And I think that all the metrics tell you otherwise, that it's just not a good business. And I think sooner or later, at some point, again, and I always use this, and it's funny because I never have an AEW fan ever refute it. I said, again, look how far we are from Tony Khan, again, whose father owns an NFL-sized stadium. Not one of the bigger stadiums in North America. Again, it's one of the smaller stadiums in the league. I think TIA Ballpark holds, I think, somewhere between 71 to 72,000 people. Again, that's a lot of people, right? But AEW is years away. They can't even fill up the Chase Center for what is one of their bigger shows. So, again, you have an NFL stadium at your disposal. And I say this all the time, and I have yet to hear one AEW mark or fan that ever refutes this. It's like, folks, understand, when you go and book an event at a building, okay, you're paying what's called a facility fee, okay? And normally, depending on the size of the building, the duration of time, the space allotted that's required, we're looking at somewhere between $500,000 to maybe a cool $1 million, okay? Case in point, I was reading somewhere, I think that the facility fee for SoFi for both nights for WrestleMania coming up in just 2 weeks was roughly $2 million, okay? It's a brand new facility, whatever. You have to make that money back. Obviously, there's a lot of discrepancies there with the land and, you know, obviously the state of California and everything else, whatever. But they have to pay to use that facility, okay? Shaq Khan owned an NFL ballpark. Tony Khan has a ballpark at his disposal, and he is years. I'll bet any amount of money that if AEW is still around in 5 more years, they still won't use that building because they can't fill it. A niche audience just isn't enough. And it's funny to me how AEW fans get so triggered when I say that. Well, Fernando, why do they need to be in a stadium? Why? because that's how you grow a product. It's madness to me that somehow people think that being in the same, arena shows are good. Listen, one of the best WrestleMania, and we'll talk about it in the coming weeks leading up to Mania as we dissect our favorite Manias and our least favorite Manias. I get it. Some of the best WrestleManias were in arenas. WrestleMania 13 in Chicago, for example. WrestleMania 12 the year before in Anaheim. I get it. But Vince, and very much like Paul as well, understand the dynamics of putting the marquee event of the year in a stadium. It's going to get filled. And even obviously, as we're out of COVID already and we're getting into buildings, okay, one dynamic that I think, okay, you're not going to fill every stadium to capacity. It's an expensive venture to take yourself and a bunch of buddies or kids to WrestleMania. It's a weekend. It's almost like going to Universal Studios or Disney World. It's an experience. It's an expensive one. Does that mean WWE should stop doing stadiums? Of course not. They're going to fill them. AEW fans are years away from ever seeing their shows in a stadium that the owner doesn't have to spend $1 million to use. And I've yet to hear one AEW fan say, Fernando, I'm like, I hear the hamana. It's like I'm watching CNN and MSNBC on steroids. Hamana. There's no intelligent rebuttal to something that's facts.
Professor, can I ask you a question? Do you think Shao Kahn, Tony Khan's father, would rent
Shao Kahn?
Am I on? D?
Shao Kahn.
Do you think Shao Kahn, Tony Khan's father, the real father, would rent that stadium to WWE for a WrestleMania?
That'd be great.
You're breaking up, Professor. You're breaking up.
Fern, you there?
I see Fern's eyes move, but I don't
maybe for a business. I mean, if he's smart about making money, I would see why not. But again, Jacksonville's not a really attractive part of Florida. Like, there's not.
It's Limp Bizkit town, baby. You respect
a city that has a lot going on. It's not a city that has a lot going on. Not great nightlife. Not a lot to do there in Jacksonville. So. I don't know.
Professor,
is it me? My internet's okay, I think. I don't know.
I don't know, man. It's kind of coming in slow, man.
That's that Weehawken internet, man.
I don't know if it's my internet. I thought it's working.
We need to get a GoFundMe to get Fern a USB cable. GoFundMe. First Pat, then Fern.
Nah, I thought I was getting the Apple laptop or whatever it's called.
You're first, my brother. You are first.
Okay, thanks. Yo, Fern, you there, bro? Can you hear me?
Huh.
I think it's him, Dave. I don't know.
Yeah. Is that a crow?
Well, you know what? Like he was talking about here, like with AEW, man, it's like, I think they're trending in a direction where it's not really going too great. It's kind of starting to go south. And I think that a lot of the fans, they're really, really into it, and a lot of them don't want to maybe admit that it's not going as well as it should and it could. We all love sports team. Like we've talked about here before, you can love your team all you want, but you have to be intellectually honest about your team. You have to be able to look at them and say, hey, you know what? I don't think my team's going to win the respective championship. I don't think my team's going to contend this year. I don't think my team is going to be in the mix for anything. Maybe they're going to be a draft pick team, or maybe they are a championship team, but you have to be honest enough to be able to look at something that you do like and figure out that, hey, there's places that they could improve. AEW just seems like on the whole, they really have a lot of improvement that they need to do. And I think that their tribalistic, hyped up fan base online, and I'm saying this with my fucking pompadour, which I cannot stop looking at in this fucking thing. I mean, I almost feel like it's fucking fake. I don't know what's going on here, but I just think that a lot of these people need to take a look maybe and kind of just be honest about like what's going on. Like, it's okay, man. Like WWE wasn't always great. Nothing's always great. Relationships, marriages, jobs. You know, all this kind of stuff. Like a lot of it is not really usually consistently fucking great. So what makes you think that your wrestling is going to be consistently great? Is your car running consistently great all the time? No, it's not. You might get a flat tire. You might need to change a wiper. You might need to change a tail light. But these are all necessary parts of life. So why is wrestling any different, you fucking weirdos?
No, I'm with you. I don't know how much.
The internet.
Damn Weehawking internet.
It's not me. I'm hearing myself just fine. I don't know what's going on.
Aren't you both in Weehawking?
No, I'm in fucking Weehawking.
Oh, no disrespect. No disrespect, Professor. No disrespect. I'm sorry. I thought you were in Weehawking.
Nah, I'd rather. But anyways,
No, I'm like 2 blocks away from Pat, literally like in Union City.
I don't understand.
On the big side of town. On the uptown, you know, the big side of town. You know what I'm saying, D?
He's on a town where the hot chicks are, Pat.
That's interesting.
Maybe, I don't know. Sometimes.
Let me see what's going on here, man. Because I can't really hear anything.
But Pat, I just think that yeah, I don't know.
Pat dropped off.
Okay. Am I still on? Or
You're still there. You're still there.
Okay.
That's norm. Let me go. Normally, it's always with this kind of system, you have to be hardwired in.
Oh no, I am. I actually have I have an Ethernet cable into the device on my Mac. Yeah.
Did you turn off the Wi-Fi settings and just let it run on Ethernet?
Yeah, I run on Ethernet. Yeah.
No, but I'm saying, is your Wi-Fi still on your laptop? When you run Ethernet,
I'll take it off. I'll see.
You have to because it's conflicting, both of them. So you have to turn off the Wi-Fi so the Ethernet can work.
Yeah. No, I believe it is. I believe it is.
Oh, that's you.
What happened? Hello?
Fern is hardwired in, but it's still acting strange.
He's hardwired to self-destruct. What's going on here? Wasn't that a Metallica song that came out recently? I don't know what the fuck's going on here. I thought it says I got a strong signal here over here, man.
You're in, bro. I hear you. You just went very dark.
What are you talking about?
Fern is frozen.
I mean, I don't.
Well,
folks, pardon the technical difficulties, okay? Pardon the technical difficulties here tonight. Anyways, D, like we was talking about, AEW is trending in a bad direction. That background is trending in a bad direction. I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know what they're going to do, man. And it's not even a bad thing. Like, we're not saying anything bad. Like, we're not disparaging them. We're not throwing fucking shade.
I wish it was great.
Improvement. Yeah, me too. I wish
it was great, man. So I could fucking at least because they got my boy Sting over there, and that's the only reason why I actually turned to watch it because Sting went, and I'm like, bro, you really look like straight up like a crappy TNA, man. Like when TNA first started.
Yeah, I agree. It's kind of garbage. Yeah. And it's not a particularly like good program lately. And I'm not saying that the in-ring stuff is bad or anything like that. All I'm saying is that like the desire to want to watch it, like the fucking
my desire to want to watch the Professor right now because he's in sexy fucking 1080p 4K version now.
Yeah, he's like, wow, this is like the resurrection right now.
There we go. now you're straight sweet.
This is your Uribe, the resurrection right now with the fucking show. Jesus, folks, we're so sorry about the technical difficulties. And like we were talking about, again, for the 50 million fucking time, AEW is not trending in a good direction. They could be doing better. The fan base, I think, needs to be a little bit honest. You got to have those hard to swallow pills. And, you got to understand that it's going to take time. Like the WWE didn't happen overnight. They went from the territory days to the 80s, to the fucking 90s, to the Attitude Era, to the Ruthless Aggression Era, to like all this stuff to get to where they got to now. It's not going to be easy. And I think that the fan base needs to accept that. And I think that that it's an uphill climb for Tony Khan and the rest of AEW, it seems.
No, it really is. And I think it's important again for fans that tune into our show and just watch wrestling altogether, just to be a little more intellectually honest about, listen, you can like what you like, but at least take the rose-colored glasses off and be at least a little more intellectually honest with yourselves. And also too, when you interact with other wrestling fans, like I didn't have a chance to go to the big event last night in Queens, that meet and greet convention. I had some stuff going on at home I had to take care of construction-wise. But, I mean, it's interesting to me because I know so many AEW fans I'll run into that'll just see me like, oh, there's the guy, there's the Vince apologist or the blowhard or whatever. And I'm just like, bro, like, okay, I watch AEW. It's not like I'm not watching Wednesday nights, but I'm also not so blind to the fact that it's just not good wrestling. Oh, but what WWE is? I'm like, it's a hell of a lot better wrestling. It's a hell of a lot better presentation. It's a hell of a lot better storytelling than a guy who's a mark. And again, nothing against Tony Khan. Believe me, I hate you and him because you guys have a beautiful head of hair. Trust me, I'd love to have that full head of hair like you and Tony do. But Tony Khan, I think, does himself a disservice, and there's really no support system that tells him what he's doing wrong. It's his way or no way, and no one's going to tell him to book differently. He's going to book what he wants, and unfortunately, he's going to book himself into oblivion, both financially and I think artistically. So,
yeah, I mean, again, I just think that from the beginning, the structure hasn't really been there. The standards haven't been there, and to your point, like, yeah, there's times where WWE do not book good gimmicks. There's times where maybe AEW have had better gimmicks in some regards. But the production, the quality, where the workers know to be, everything about it is just excellent, and it's done very, very well. And even if it's not the most compelling matchup from like a character perspective, like you still watch it and you see the professionalism of the talent that's involved. And I think that's like the biggest thing, and that's the biggest difference between AEW and WWE.
Yeah, it's definitely something we're gonna keep an eye on here on the show and certainly dissect as it either gets better or it gets worse. Pat, before we call it a night here, on this day in pro wrestling history, on the 12th of March in 1991, the Iron Sheik returned to the WWF after a long hiatus, debuting as Colonel Mustafa. Again, now playing an Iraqi, soldier, as opposed to, we all know the Iron Sheik is a native-born Iranian, which was interesting. He debuted at the WWF Wrestling Challenge tapings in Biloxi, Mississippi, where he would join Sergeant Slaughter and General Adnan to form the Triangle of Terror, again, as they would continue feuding with Hulk Hogan throughout the spring and summer of 1991, ultimately ending with the finale of their feud at SummerSlam at Madison Square Garden that summer. On this day in 1993, in his first ever ECW television taping appearance, Jimmy Superfly Snuka defeated Glenn Osborne in a tournament final for the vacant ECW World Television Championship.
Superfly.
At 2000, on this day, at the final ECW Living Dangerously pay-per-view in Danbury, Connecticut, Super Crazy pinned Rhino to win the vacant ECW World Television Championship in a tournament final. Mike Awesome also retained the ECW World Heavyweight title in a match against Kid Cash. In 2002, Maven defeated Al Snow for the WWF Hardcore title at a SmackDown. In 2004, Kensuke Sasaki won the IWGP World Championship from Hiroshi Tenzan in Tokyo, Japan. In 2006, Christian Cage retained the Impact World Heavyweight Championship against Monty Brown in the main event of TNA's Destination X in Orlando, Florida. Other matches of note, Christopher Daniels won the X Division Championship, defeating AJ Styles and Samoa Joe in an Ultimate X three-way match, along with Abyss, Chris Harris, and James Storm defeating Jeff Jarrett, along with Brother Devon, Brother Ray, Rhino, and Ron Killings in an 8-man war match. And in 2016, on this date, Triple H retained the WWE World Heavyweight Championship against Dean Ambrose at WWE's Roadblock in Toronto, Ontario, Canada. The event was originally booked to be a house show called March to WrestleMania, live from Toronto. It was made available to, at the time, WWE Network subscribers back when it was the WWE Network and was easy to navigate and watch. Other notable matches.
All right, Brett. Let it go, Brett. Jesus.
On the card. But Pat, the network was better to navigate than Peacock is. It's just
Pat, you got to admit, the professor is the professor, and the professor's telling the damn truth.
Okay, great, man. Yeah, no, life was better too when we were little fucking kids, right? You know, the Yankees were better in the fucking 90s, weren't they?
They were.
Everything was fucking greater back then, right? Everything, music was better before Kurt Cobain killed himself, supposedly.
Food too.
You know, food was better back. Everything was better. But guess what? It's not going to fucking go back to that. So stop fucking complaining about it and move on. Jesus, it's fucking ridiculous. Seriously.
As a consumer, a disservice is being done to me.
So don't watch it. Don't watch it. Stop watching it. Go away. If it's such a fucking problem, you know.
Who are you to tell us what to do?
I'm a guy drinking wine. That's why I'm with a sweet fucking pompadour. Look at this fucking pompadour, bro. Fucking Vanilla Ice Morrissey style, you know.
Listen, I can get a good polling sample of people, not from MSNBC or CNN, that will tell you the network app was better. I mean, that's not.
Well, great. Dude. Go fucking protest. Drive to Connecticut. Do something about it. You know.
I have
storm the fucking building. Storm the building. There you go.
I've protested. Okay, my stock should be higher than it should be, but that's another argument for another day.
Jeez Louise.
All the good stuff here happening on this day, March the 12th, in pro wrestling history. Before we call it a night, Pat, what to look out for, brother?
The New Jersey Devils. That's what's to look out for. Motherfucking Scott Stevens right here. Right. The captain, the old Capitan, Peachy.
That's
Peachy
right.
from 92. But yeah, Child Actor is going to be coming back to you May 5th over at the VFW out in North Bergen, right off of 81st Street on Bergen Line. It's going to be presented by WTF Is This Productions and going to be featuring the Child Actors, Locaine, Chaotician, and I Destroyer. It's going to be fucking awesome. Tickets are $15 pre-sale, $20 at the door. You don't want to miss it. We're going to have plenty of gimmicks. We're going to have a fucking food truck. We're going to have a fucking pinwheel. We're going to have a fucking small guy breakdancer. We're going to have a bunch of stuff. Come on out and enjoy it. I'll see you there.
And Pat, I'll make it a point to come out and not wear a suit so I look like a coke dealer. And people come up and
well, you know what? You know what's the best part about it? You know what's the best part about this show? That it's on Cinco de Mayo, so you could just dress like your natural Mexican self, you know, and you'll fit right in, you know?
Unbelievable. Folks, coming up tomorrow night, Monday night, March the 13th. By the way, a shout out to my dad. He'll be celebrating a birthday tomorrow, so Fernando Sr.
Whoa. Me and your dad we have the same birthday?
Yes, that is correct.
Your dad is the man. I love him.
Sure. He's a Pisces. Sometimes the Pisces are tough to deal with, you know, but not UG and not my dad. But certainly tomorrow night on Real Talk at 6 p.m. Eastern time on StreamYard, I'll have Republican operative Jeanette Hoffman on. She's one of the more visible operatives, campaign strategists in New Jersey politics. She'll have a lot to say about the sort of really the rut that is living in the state of New Jersey with the emperor and everybody else. So we'll be talking about that tomorrow night, folks. So tune in there on, again, StreamYard and also on the Jersey First YouTube page. I'll also have a response to, since it is Women's History Month, continuing on the show, I'll have something to say about one of my favorite women, Jay Lassiter, a journalist who wanted to call me out online. I have a lot to say about him tomorrow night on the show as well. So folks, tune in tomorrow at 6 p.m. Eastern time. Folks, he is New Jersey's premier wrestling analyst, the glorious, the notorious, the bougie PBR superstar, Patrick Rivera. I am New Jersey's premier journalist and, of course, the weapon of mass disruption in Garden State media, folks. It's the Professor Fernando Uribe. And every single week here, courtesy of Famcast Media, of course, shout out to D-Ron, our amazing executive producer. Folks, nobody does it better because we are working the marks here on Blog Talk Radio and also on Famcast Media. Folks, we'll see you the next weekend. Have a great St. Patrick's Day. Please party responsibly. As always, thank you so much for watching here, folks. Working the marks with Fernando and Patrick.
Famcast Media, bitch. Famcast Media, bitch.